Hello everyone, what is up? It is me, AlbyMTG. For today's video, I have kind of an interesting one. I'm not sure how this is going to end up playing out, but I did get the idea to do this, and I just kind of wanted to jump into it and see if maybe the video ended up being any good or not. So we're going to go ahead and see if I can throw together a competitive standard deck here with these new Guilds of Ravnica cards. I'm going to go ahead and walk you guys through how I put together a deck, the kind of things that I think about as I'm, trying to plan for a new format here, since this is going to be a completely new format. We lost a ton of sets. We lost all of Amonkhet block. We lost all of Kaladesh block, and those were extremely important sets for the new standard, or for old standard. So now that Guilds of Ravnica is here and we have a brand new standard format, I wanted to go ahead and just kind of take a look at, my first deck build for the format on a competitive level and see if, maybe you guys can learn a little bit more about how to more effectively put together your first decks in the format and all this other kind of stuff. So, the deck we're going to be trying to put together here is red-white tokens. It's important to note, red-white tokens is going to be my first try at a Guilds of Ravnica deck. That's kind of why I think it's even more cool that I'm, doing this, is because I haven't really done a ton of brewing yet with Guilds of Ravnica outside of this being my first time. And I think red-white offers a ton of just fantastic options for us. The Selesnya tokens theme is also just going to be quite good. I thought about possibly doing the Naya tokens, combining the good parts of the Boros tokens deck along with the good parts of the Selesnya tokens deck, merging them together. But I think I just want to go with something a little bit more streamlined here, something just two colors. And so because the format's going to be very new, I want to go ahead and do the Boros over the Selesnya, because I feel like the Boros deck is going to be much more aggressive for obvious reasons. Having access to red means you get burn spells, and you can be a lot more aggressive on the curve instead of trying to win via convoke threats like you would try to do in the Selesnya deck. And normally when the formats are newer, it's much better to be proactive instead of reactive, and that's basically all aggro decks are, is just super proactive. You're making your opponents have all the answers, and so I think that with this red-white tokens deck, we're going to go ahead and see a very proactive strategy, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to start this deck build here. So I have two different websites open here, aside from Mythic Spoiler, so I guess I have three websites open. We have Mythic Spoiler here to take a look at all of the Guilds of Ravnica cards specifically. We have the MTG Goldfish here, the website for the deck editor, where we can go ahead and just put in all of the cards that we're interested in putting in. If we're interested in putting in a basic mountain, we just simply type in mountain, and we can add it to the deck here. And then as we start, putting together more cards into the deck, we can update the preview, and it'll go ahead and, just update the deck for us. So very nice little tool here for deck building. This is the one that I personally use. And then here I have Scryfall open, and I've already put in all of the restrictions for the advanced search thing, so that we're only going to see cards for the new standard set that are red and white. And so we're basically going to be focusing on having a lower converted mana cost, because we're going to want to be aggressive, so I already sorted by CMC as well. And we're just going to go ahead and see if something like sticks out to us here. Again, I'm going to try a little bit more of like a red-white tokens theme, so we'll see what we can come up with. Alright, so the first thing that you guys can see here is the lands. We're not going to worry too much about our mana base right now. Right now we're just going to be a little bit more focused on the creatures and the spells that we're putting on our deck. Sacred Foundry is going to be very nice for this deck too, since we're trying to be a little bit more aggressive with the tokens. Banefire is a nice little card here as well that we'll probably end up having some number of in our sideboard. So I think I'm just going to go back here now, and I know that I'm going to want some number of these, so in the sideboard we'll just type in 1 for now. We'll add a Banefire to the, and that's not what I wanted to do. We'll add a sideboard, we'll add Banefire to the deck. There we go, Banefire, and add card. So that's on our sideboard now. We'll go back to the main deck. We'll take a look at more cards. Something I like here is Charge. I think if we're going to go super wide here with a Boros tokens theme, I think Charge could be a nice little payoff. So I'm going to go ahead and add in 1 copy of Charge here as well, and then we'll get to more copies and see a little bit more streamline as we make our way down the mana curve. If we wanted to be slightly just like non-tokens theme, more aggressive theme, then Dauntless Bodyguard is a solid option. Duskborn Skymarcher is also just like not a bad option there. Fanatical Firebrand is also fine if we're trying to be aggressive. Motivator, Banneret's fine. Healer's Hawk could be an interesting one here too, because we're probably going to end up, I know for sure we're going to end up with at least one Mentor card. Actually, I know we're going to end up with at least 2 mentor cards, and Healer's Hawk is a great mentor target. So I think we'll go ahead and just throw in a Healer's Hawk for now. And again, we'll be adjusting these numbers later on as we just kind of figure out what cards we're looking for right now. So Healer's Hawk for the mentor targets. Hunted Witness could be okay since it replaces itself with a token, but I definitely want to throw in some number of Legions landing for sure. That's just a fantastic card in in these token strategies. So Legions landing. That'll probably end up being a 4 of, possibly a 3 of, but most likely a 4 of just because it's super good in these token strategies. Aside from that, nothing else I'm seeing here on this page that I'm overly interested in. Still nothing here. Maybe some number of shocks isn't too bad either, just to be nice and nice and proactive again, or I guess this would be slightly reactive if they play out just like a little bit of a smaller blocker. Shock is a decent way to handle that. Skymarcher Aspirant again, if we're trying to be more of a aggressive theme deck instead of a tokens-based synergy, then Skymarcher Aspirant's probably fine in the deck as well. I think I'm going to add some number of shock, so we'll go ahead and put a shock in here too. And we'll keep going here through these 1 CMC cards. Torch Courier is a little interesting, can give haste, but not necessarily best in a tokens theme strategy. Take Heart's interesting. Little combat trick, but then we also gain life for each attacking creature, and we're going to be attacking with quite a lot of creatures. Warlord's Fury also maybe just not the worst because of it can tripping, but I'm not super sold on that. I think we're going to want some significantly better cards than those. Boros Challenger here could be reasonable, does have Mentor, so it works well with the Hawk. Maybe we'll add in 1 for now, but I could definitely see us cutting one of these later on. Boros Challenger. Bounty Agent's not too bad, but doesn't necessarily fit with what we're trying to do. But maybe like in the sideboard for the Search for Azcanta decks, that's not a bad option at all. Here, not really seeing anything else. Dowsing Dagger makes tokens, but it's definitely not what we want because it gives our opponents the tokens. Here, still just not really seeing anything. Goblin Instigator, that's a card that would create a token, not a bad one at all, so we'll go ahead and add in Goblin Instigator. And add him in here. Justice Strike is a very good card. This is going to be essentially like the Terminate of this format. We were going through and trying to figure out what creatures Justice Strike doesn't kill, and it's basically just like Thrashing Brontodon. Like, Justice Strike is really good because it can kill your opponent's like Knight of Grace, and at the same time kill your opponent's Gigantosaurus, all for 2 mana. So Justice Strike's going to be a very powerful card. Maybe if we need to remove some blockers, some number of Justice Strike could be fine. So we'll put 1 in there for now. Maybe Knight of Grace if we just want... I think we want, if we're trying to go tokens theme, I don't think we want Knight of Grace, maybe in the sideboard for the black-based decks. Lava Coil, again, probably just a sideboard card. For now, we'll go ahead and add in Lava Coil. And the other card I said was Knight of Grace, so we'll go ahead and add one of those. Then we're on to Lightning Strike. Lightning Strike seems like something we're trying to do with this deck, so I'm perfectly fine with adding some number of Lightning Strikes. That's my sideboard, but we'll probably have some number throughout the 75, so I'm just going to leave the other one there for now. Lightning Strike. There we go. Like, Martyr of Dusk is also fine. I think we would probably want the other one instead, the Hunted Witness over the Martyr of Dusk. Maybe that's something we can think about later on, though, is some sort of an Aristocrat-style strategy with Martyr of Dusk and Hunted Witness now. Paladin we don't want. Path of Metal, I think, is the kind of card that you want for a little bit more of a bigger deck, but for the token-based strategies, that's not really something we want. Pride of Conquerors could be fine if we're trying to go wide. Pride of Conquerors. Again, just another spell similar to Charge, where we're just trying to go wide, and so that'll be a nice little card for us. Relentless Raptor is fine, I guess. Probably not what we want. Seal Away for removal, not really what we want either. Sky Terror is a good little aggressive creature. Sunhome Stalwart's fine too. What I think what we're really looking for here though is the token producers. If we can find the key number of token producers, then I think we're just, you know, in a fantastic spot. And Tialani Summoner is a decent little card to make tokens for us. A good little mana sink as well. So we'll add some number of her in here. I don't know how to spell it. Tilon. Tilon. Tialani's Summoner. So you can see we're starting to shape up here with this tokens based deck. We have some payoff cards like Charge and Pride of Conquerors. Legion's Landing, kind of a payoff card here as well. You could consider it that. And then just some cards that work well going wide. Pyromancer is probably not quite what we're trying to do. Is a very good aggressive card, but not necessarily what we're trying to go for. Banalish Marshal is good for going wide too, because again it's kind of an anthem. So the triple white could be a little bit difficult, but I think for now we'll add in some number of Banalish Marshal as well. Banalish Marshal. And again, we have the 8 dual lands now. We'll have Cliptop Retreat, and we'll have Sacred Foundry, so that's something to keep in mind. So it should be easier to cast the Banalish Marshal than it would normally be. Danitha is like a reasonable mentor target as well. She seems quite good with that sort of an ability. I don't think we want a Trumpet Blast effect. I think we just would rather have the Pride of the Conquerors and the Charge over Dinosaur Stampede and like Trumpet Blast, those kind of cards. Nothing else we really want here. Yeah, still nothing I'm really looking for here. Chain Whirler is the kind of card that just absolutely demolishes us, so we're kind of hoping to not see as many Chain Whirlers in the format this time around as we saw last time. History of Benalia, that's a good little token producer right there. I don't mind having some History of Benalias in here. History, if I can spell, History of Benalia. And again, this card, Legion Warboss, this is the kind of card that I was pretty down on when it first came out, and now I think the card is just fantastic. I was really down on it because I thought that it would just be a strictly worse version of Goblin Rabblemaster, but I think for the standard environment, even a strictly worse Goblin Rabblemaster is still great. And so I've definitely come around on this card, so I'm going to be including some number of Legion Warboss here. Again, has Mentor, so it could work out nicely with the Healer's Hawk and other good mentor targets that we have. What was this thing called again? Legion Warboss. Add one of those in. And I know the other card that we're going to want for sure is going to be some number of Tajic. I think it's Legion's End. I think is the one from... Yeah, that's the right order for Tajic. Okay. So we're definitely going to want some number of those. Make a Stand is probably going to be a reasonable sideboard card for us. Mentor of the Meek's also reasonable here too. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 1 if you do draw a card. That could be a nice little card draw engine for us here too. So I don't think I hate any number of Mentor of the Meek. Mentor of the Meek. Militia Bugler is interesting too. What do we have actually in terms of creatures? So Militia Bugler can't find like our Legion's Landing or our History of Benalia, but it can find everything else except for Tajic, right? Power 2 or less, so yeah, everything but Tajic and Banalish Marshal. Being able to find Mentor of the Meek, War Boss, and Summoner seems pretty good though. Yeah, that seems okay. I don't want to get too caught up though in the 3-drop slot. And we already have quite a few with Banalish Marshal, War Boss, Mentor, Tajic, and History of Benalia, so I think I'm going to leave out Militia Bugler for now. Radiant Destiny, that could be a good one too. What creature type are we normally naming with Radiant Destiny? Probably just Goblin, right? What does this make? Elementals, yeah. So that is kind of like awkward. Um, yeah, I don't think we actually want Radiant Destiny. We have too many different kinds of creature tokens being created. Sergeant at Arms is just too slow for the kind of tokens we're trying to create. Slaughter the Strong is an interesting one, though. Each player chooses any number of creatures he or she controls with total power 4 or less, then sacrifices all of their creatures he or she controls. So this is a nice way to remove some of our opponent's creatures while possibly still keeping 4 of our own creatures. We could even keep like the War Boss plus 2 1/1 tokens or something like that. And then produce another 1/1 token as we go to combat. So Slaughter the Strong is not a bad one. Squire's Devotion I don't think we want, even though it makes a token. I think these cards are also just not good enough. The 3 mana create 2 1/1. I don't think those are the kind of cards we want. A Johnny could be reasonable. Just because it allows us to pump up our tokens a little bit, make them slightly better attackers. We could also put these on some of our creatures with Mentor as well. So it would be a nice way of putting the creature or putting the counters on there so that we can get more Mentor triggers when our creatures get slightly bigger. And then target creature with converted mana cost 2 or less. That's a good way to bring back Tilanali's Summoner later on. Aside from that, though, that's pretty much it. Maybe Healer's Hawk, but there really wasn't a ton of great 2-drop token creating creatures. So Johnny's maybe something for us to think about. Aurelia is something we can think about here too. She does have the Mentor ability. She also doesn't die to Fiery Justice. It's also something to note. I think I'm going to leave her out for now. So the token would get +2/+0 and trample most likely. Maybe we do want some number of Aurelia. Maybe like 1 or 2. Aurelia. Exemplar of Justice, right? Yeah, Exemplar of Justice. Maybe we just want her as like, I keep doing that. I want to go in and edit. There we go. My apologies. Aurelia. Exemplar of Justice. Add card was what I wanted to do. Call the Cavalry does create 2 bodies for 4 mana. I don't think it's quite what we want though. Conclave Tribunal I think will be fine. Maybe we want some number of those. Probably like 1 or 2. Conclave Tribunal. See, and here's where we get to the, like, we're finding all these cards that we really want, but for example, if we wanted 4 ofs of all these cards right now, we'd be at like 80-some cards. So we're definitely going to have some cuts that we're going to need to make. And so this is basically just like the early stages, trying to figure out what kind of things we want. Heroic Reinforcements is great in this deck too, so we'll definitely want some number of heroic reinforcements. In fact, I think in this deck specifically, heroic reinforcements is actually better for us than Aurelia is. But we'll see what else we have here. I think once we get to like 5 CMC, I don't think we're an Inspired Charge deck either. This is just too expensive for what we would want. If we were going to play an effect like this, I think it would just be Trumpet Blast instead. Leonin War Leader, that's another one that creates some tokens. That's not a bad one either. Leonin War Leader. Leonin War Leader. And that one might actually be better than Aurelia for us too. Rekindling Phoenix is really good. It's really good, but it doesn't really fit the theme quite as well. I don't know. We'll come back and think about Rekindling Phoenix a little bit. Maybe like another sideboard card. We'll get more into the sideboard later on. Varix can create a token, but again, too expensive. 7 mana for the token is not what we want. Yeah, and then we're pretty much on to like the 5 CMC stuff, which I think is where we start getting to the point where these cards are just too expensive for us to cast in our deck. Divine Visitation was a card I kind of thought about briefly before going into this tokens deck, but I think, again, we're trying to be a little bit more aggressive, and this standard format seems like there are a lot of powerful cards in it, and I think there is definitely room to brew around, but I think playing a 5-mana enchantment that doesn't affect the board is probably just not good enough. It could definitely win you the game later on, but I don't think it's really what we want. Your life total, so yeah, this doesn't really do anything for us either. X damage, yeah. Wildly doesn't do anything for us. Jaya doesn't do anything for us. Integrity and Intervention is probably not the worst card. Lyra out of the sideboard possibly could be reasonable here too. Siege Gang Commander, that's a card that makes some tokens here as well. Yeah, I don't hate some number of Siege Gang Commanders. Maybe like 2 Siege Gang Commanders, and then in the matchups where Siege Gang Commander is bad, then Lyra's probably going to be pretty good, and so we can just kind of do the 2-for-2 switch there. So I kind of like something like that. Siege Gang Commander. And then again, I think that we're probably good here. I don't think we want to cast anything really above this. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the video here and just kind of do some of these cuts, and then I'll talk about why I kept the certain cards that I kept once we get later on into the video. So I'll see you guys as soon as I make some cuts here, since we have quite a few cards left. Alright, here we are. I'm back. I made a couple of cuts. Some of the more notable cuts, probably something like the Aurelia, you'll notice is gone. I felt like our 4 drops like the Leonin War Leader and Heroic Reinforcements were just better than Aurelia for us. And something like Fiery Justice, just kind of like those removal spells that couldn't do damage to the face, I removed some of those as well. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get into starting to actually, figure out the numbers for these. So I like something like 4 Healer's Hawk, just so that we can get a decent little aggressive start. For Legion's Landing, where's Legion's Landing? Somewhere there's Legion's Landing, there we go. I think we're going to go with 3 for now, just because it is legendary. It does feel like it's going to be one of the better cards in the deck, but again, 3 of them should be a reasonable enough number. A similar 3 of, I think, is something like Banalish Marshal, where it gives us the Anthem effect, but having triple white can be kind of difficult, so I think I've decided on like 3 Banalish Marshals, probably reasonable. Conclave Tribunal, I'm still kind of debating. Goblin Instigator, I think, is a reasonable card for us as well, since we're trying to go wide. So that'll be a nice little 4-of for us. Tajik, I think we want 2 Tajik. So there's 2 of him, since he's legendary. History of Benalia is just great. So that'll probably be a 4-of here. And I'm assuming this is probably going to be somewhere around a 20... Probably something like a 22 to 23 land deck is what I'm assuming. Yeah, I think I like something like 23 lands probably for this. So we're looking at around 37 cards is what we're really going to go for. 1 Siege Gang Commander. I think we said we were going to try to push for 2, and I also like 2 War Leaders here as well. So we'll update those. So now that we're seeing these numbers a little bit more, I think I'm going to remove the Conclave Tribunal. And I think I'm going to remove Shocks here as well. Update the preview a little bit more. Heroic Reinforcements, Pride of Conquerors, and Charge are all great. Like, I kind of just want to run 4-ofs of all of those. But I don't know if we'll have the ability to do so. Tealanali Summoner, again, is a card that I like too, but I like it later in the game, not super early in the game. So this could, again, be something similar to where we're just trying to get like a 2-of and try and pull it later in the game instead of earlier in the game. Legion Warboss, we still only have 1 here. We're probably going to want... We're definitely going to want some number of them. Actually, I think I'm gonna go for 4 War Boss and then actually cut down the History of Benalias down to 3 for now. So we're at 33. Okay, so maybe we want like maybe I'm overrating War Boss a little bit. I'm not sure. Or maybe we only want... I guess History of Benalia isn't great. We're not making a ton of Knight tokens. Some of our other 3-drops just seem better. So maybe we just want like... We want like 1 less History of Benalia, something like that. And this opens up these cards over here. Heroic Reinforcements. Again, it's a 4-drop, so it's a little bit expensive, but it is one of the better cards in our deck. I guess we'll go 2 there as well. Charge, I think we just want 4 of, most likely, since we're going wide. This leaves us at 36. We could also just cut the histories altogether and just say that our 3-drops, the Tajik, the War Boss, and the Marshal, are just going to be better than history every time, which could just be true. I like that history also gives us an enchantment to go towards Ascend as well. Yeah, I guess Legion's Landing is also just getting us closer to Ascend too, so maybe we don't even need these History of Benalias. History of Benalia is like a fantastic card against control, but I think what we're already doing is like fairly good against control itself. So Pride of Conquerors, again, another payoff card for going tokens. We'll put that at 4 as well. And now that 1 Lightning Strike looks a little bit awkward. Possible we don't want that 1 Lightning Strike, or if we're going to run Lightning Strikes, maybe we want 2 of somewhere. Don't know what else we would try to cut for it, though. Maybe like 1 Charge, because Charge again is something we're going to want later on once we've already had enough creatures to kind of go wide. So yeah, I guess I could see that, going like 3 Charge, 2 Lightning Strike instead. Because I think, so then it comes down to Pride of Conquerors versus Charge, which do we like better? I guess I kind of like Charge better than Pride of Conquerors. How likely are we to hit Ascend? I feel like we're pretty likely. We're pretty likely to hit Ascend. Yeah, so I guess something like this. So update this preview again. So I guess I'm looking at something like this to test with for the first go around. In terms of a mana base, we of course want Clifftop, Retreat, 4 of those, and we want Sacred Foundry, 4 of those as well. And then I guess the rest of our cards we probably just want basics. We don't really want Guild Gates, and I don't think this is a Field of Ruin deck. It's possible though. So what does Field of Ruin really hit in Standard right now that we care about? As Cant of the Sunken Ruin is probably just the card we would care the most about. Can we get away with a Field of Ruin? I guess we probably could. The only time Field of Ruin is really awkward is with Benalish Marshal. I guess it's like weird if it's in our opener too, if we have like Healer's Hawk or Legion's Landing instead. I think we're okay with like 2 Field of Ruins in the utility land spot. Field of Ruin. 2. It also acts as like a little bit of mana fixing if we're maybe missing the 3rd white source for Benalish Marshal. Then that's something that we could use that for. So then we're looking at 13 more lands left. I think I want slightly more white sources than I do red sources because we need triple white for Banalish Marshal, and if we want to play Legion's Landing or Healer's Hawk on turn 1, we're going to want additional white sources. So if we have 13, I'm looking at maybe, so it would be 7-6, so 8-5 in favor of white, so plains, something like 8, and then mountain 5. So that gives us how many red sources? Gives us 4, 9, 13. And then white sources is 4, 12, 16. Maybe we don't want these Field of Ruins. Field of Ruins might just end up making our mana slightly too awkward. And I think in terms of, if we go back to page 1 on here, they kind of showed us the utility lands that we have access to, and I don't think there's anything else here we really want. Maybe like a Memorial to Glory, but again, it's kind of awkward if like that's our first land. It's like super awkward if that's our first land. I guess it's fine later on though. Yeah, maybe like one. So instead of these 2 Field of Ruins, 1 Memorial to Glory. Just one of those. And then we have access to 1 more land, so then do we want it to be a plains or a mountain? I think... Honestly, I kind of think plains. All of our 2s, I guess, are red. So we do kind of want to just go 1 and 2. Yeah, I'm not doing like the hypergeometric calculator for something like this. This is just kind of like my first, kind of go at it. But I would say probably something like this maybe. I guess 8-6. Yeah, because Memorial taps for white then too. Yeah, I guess I would go with something like this for, yeah, Memorial to Glory. Okay, so yeah, I guess this is like my first attempt at red-white tokens here in Standard. In terms of building a sideboard, sideboards are pretty difficult right now because we have no clue what the meta is going to look like. So I guess something I can like just kind of come up with a quick sideboard here, not knowing anything about the format going in, or not knowing like a ton about what the format's going to end up looking like. 2 Lyra Dawnbringer again to switch out with the Siege Gang commanders if we find that necessary. Maybe Rekindling Phoenix, maybe 2 of those again for when the tokens are bad. We can switch out War Leaders for Phoenix, Siege Gang Commanders for Lyras. I wish there was a better way to stop Chain Whirler for us, but I don't really think there is. So I guess... Also, I apologize for taking a drink there, but I've been talking for like half an hour, so my apologies. I guess something like Lava Coil. Some number of these, maybe like 2 Lava Coil and Fiery Justice. Maybe like 2 and 1, possibly. See, this is like the hard stuff for early on in the format. We don't know like if Lava Coil is going to be better than Fiery Justice. I think it is called Fiery Justice, right? I'm pretty sure it is. Fiery Justice. No, it's not called Fiery Justice. That's kind of what I was afraid of. I was calling it the wrong name. What is the name of this card? Justice Strike. Okay. Justice Strike. So sure, we'll go like 2 Lava Coil, 1 Justice Strike for now. something like a Johnny, whatever a Johnny's name is. What is M19 a Johnny? I was hoping that would work. It didn't. Adversary of Tyrants. Adversary of Tyrants. Probably bringing that in against Control. We'll go like 3. I guess now we're making our mana curve a little bit higher. Maybe it's like a Johnny versus Rekindling Phoenix, and maybe we just want a Johnny instead of the Rekindling Phoenix. Update that. And then we're at like 8 cards. I don't even know what else we're really looking for. Maybe I guess another Tajik would be fine for the red-based decks that are trying to use that kind of removal. Another one of those in the sideboard wouldn't be too bad. Yeah, I think these last like several sideboard cards are just kind of like up for debate. Maybe trying to see if there's anything in here that I really like, and I'm not really seeing much either. Yeah, there's just not really much. The Phoenix isn't really for us either. Maybe some number of bounty agents. That was a card we talked about earlier, so we'll throw some number of those in here. Bounty agent. Really kind of only comes in against the Search for Azcanta decks. We'll throw in 1. Is there anything else we're really looking for? Dawn of Hope could be a decent little one here as well. For the sideboard, for the more grindy matchups where we're trying to just use this to create the tokens later on. Yeah, Dawn of Hope could be a decent one to add in here too. I think maybe 3 of those if we're just trying to switch into that sort of a plan. And that gives us access to 2 more sideboard cards. I don't know what to choose. We'll go with, I don't know, we'll go with 2 shocks for the super aggressive decks. Sure. That works. Okay, close enough. Something like this would be, so this is like my first attempt at putting together a deck in Guilds of Ravnica standard that would be, you know, slightly competitive. We do have some, you know, some cheap options here, but then we have like the more expensive cards like Lyra and Najani here in the sideboard as well. So yeah, I think this is the kind of deck where you could definitely make budget versions of it if you're interested in, you know, trying to start brewing around with something like this. But at the same time, if you're looking to play it on a competitive level, this is a good little starting spot for you as well. Again, the sideboard is not perfect, nowhere even close to perfect right now because we don't know what the format's going to look like. But yeah, hopefully you guys found this video to be, you know, pretty helpful. Just me going through and doing my first ever brew here in Guilds of Ravnica standard, red-white tokens here. Hopefully you guys did enjoy it. Let me know if there's any changes you would have made to the deck. Are there cards that I cut that you would rather see in here? Are there cards that I left in that you would rather not see in here? Be sure to let me know. Of course, I love talking to you guys in the comment section. Again, like I said, hopefully you found this video to be helpful, and maybe it'll help you in your brewing your own, when you're brewing your own decks for Guilds of Ravnica standard. And yeah, if you guys found it to be helpful, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. I'd greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you guys here next time for another Magic the Gathering video. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Of course, I'm not sure how Guilds of Ravnica Standard is going to turn out, but this was my first attempt at brewing a little something here in the format. Of course, at the end of all of my videos, I love to give a huge shout out and thank you to my patrons. Jayathy Swaran, Jeremy, Jason, Daniel, and BattleofMTG are supporting me over on the Patreon page. They're just fantastic people. I love that they're supporting me, and I'm super appreciative of it. I'm super appreciative of you as well, just for watching this video, especially if you made it all the way to the end, since this is going to be a much longer video, but hopefully it'll be a nice informative one for you. So with that being said, hopefully you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys here next time.